Here in the Piedmont Triad, we're all connected by the ideas, innovations, and people working to improve our region, from transportation and planning to housing and economic vitality. We bring those conversations to you. Welcome to the Triad Regional Connections podcast, hosted by Audra Adams and Lamar Powell, brought to you by the Piedmont Triad Regional Council.
Hi, and welcome to this episode. My name's Lamar Powell.
And I'm Audra Adams.
Yes, and I want to welcome today Jacob Thompson. He is the Business Engagement Coordinator at PTRC, one of several, right?
Yes, 3.
Yeah, well, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to know all about what you do as a business engagement coordinator. Did I get that right?
You did. So I work for the Piedmont Triad Regional Workforce Development Board. We are a part of PTRC. Through the Workforce Development Board, we serve a 10-county footprint. We go all the way from Surrey County to Alamance County, excluding Guilford County. So all the counties in between, we serve those. Myself, I serve 4 counties. So I serve Stotts, Forsyth, Davie, and Davidson counties.
Nice. And when you say you serve them, in what way, what does your job entail?
So I'm a business engagement coordinator for those 4 counties, which means I'm the primary point of contact for all of our workforce development services in those 4 counties. So I meet with local business owners. You can think small, medium, and large. We work with everybody. My goal is to go in and meet with these businesses, address their workforce needs in a consultative approach, and then through that determine how we can utilize our services at PTRC to address those needs, maybe whether it's from hiring events, maybe they have some turnover issues, being able to get them some employees that they can retain. We do a lot with training needs, being able to do different grants to address the cost of training. And then really, we have a in-depth web of partners that we can refer to. I always tell businesses when I meet them, maybe I'm not your guy, but I can definitely put you in touch with the right resource.
Wow.
Well, I think
like
that's
that.
awesome. Well, I know what you guys do has a big impact because I kind of understand a little bit about the inner workings. But I know today one of the goals today is to talk about the apprenticeship program. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so here in the last year or so, there's been a very big push towards registered apprenticeships. The governor has passed an executive order that's put a big emphasis on registered apprenticeships, and that's passed down from the state level to us at the local level. So we've been to a lot of trainings, a lot of conferences, working with people at the state level, working with Apprenticeship and basically to see how we can better flesh out the partnership, to see how we can braid our funding models to be able to support registered apprenticeships a little bit better. It's always been something that we've done in the past, but now there's just a bigger emphasis on it. So that partnership's just been building and kind of picking up a lot of traction here in the last year.
I want you to explain, if you can, what apprenticeship really means this day and age.
Well, really, apprenticeship can mean whatever you want it to mean, I always like to say. So really, apprenticeship is going to be determined up to the business and how they want to build their model, right? So when you think apprenticeship, you're going to be thinking of, it's a version of work-based learning. So you're going to have these candidates come in, they're going to be doing on-the-job training, but there's also an educational component to it, and that's really the component that's up to the employers, right? A lot of consortiums that I work with, like LEAP at Forsyth Tech, which is their Learn and Earn program, and DDAC, which is the Davidson Davie Apprenticeship Consortium in Davidson County. A lot of those businesses default to the community colleges for the training provider, but I've also met with several businesses who do their training in-house, right? Or they have third-party training providers come in. The big thing with apprenticeships is credentialing, right? So if the training provider is going to come in and provide a credential, and then they're doing on-the-job training and the educational piece, then you can work with Apprenticeship NC, which is a state entity for registered apprenticeships. You can work with them and build out your registered apprenticeship.
Let's break this down a little bit to an individual. So me as an individual looking at a particular career or a program, what's some examples? What, air conditioning?
Yeah,
electrical.
There's a lot of stuff in aerospace in Greensboro.
Oh, I like that better.
There's a lot of stuff in aerospace in Greensboro. You have HVAC, a lot of advanced manufacturing. There's been a big push in like the healthcare field. Registered apprenticeships have gone a long way in kind of solving some of the issue with finding RNs and retaining RNs. So that's been a big push as well in the healthcare field. But like I said, you have that, advanced manufacturing, aerospace, automotive. Really, I think there's well over 1,000 apprenticeable occupations in the state. So, I mean, if you want to do it, there's probably a pathway to do an apprenticeship with it.
So a part of this is going to help the employer or a certain industry, no doubt, because it's not just an individual employer, though that's probably who you're dealing with. But we're also trying to look at it on a regional basis as well, because you hear a lot about that in our economy is, do we have the workforce to be able to handle this type of industry coming into our area? But also, I mean, that's one side of it, but the other side is for the individual. So how does that help me? Gets me maybe a job, but what else does it do?
So, I mean, if you're looking at it from the job seeker point of view, the really good thing about apprenticeship or apprenticeships in general is that you can come in, you get a job. So a lot of the times they start at different wages. You know, it can start as $15, $17, $18 an hour. But not only do you have a job, but almost all the time, the employer is also covering the cost of their education. Right. So they go in and they get these training, they get these credentialing, whether it's, you know, a credential or a 2-year degree, they get that free of cost. There's no books, there's no tuition cost. So they're furthering their resume and their credentials, even if they don't stay with that employer, they can take that training and those credentials with them.
And that's a huge benefit for an individual. Not only are you getting that education, the credentialing, but you're also getting the hands-on experience,
hands-on
right?
experience, yeah.
So I know part of your job is to raise awareness, but I mean, for me, this is one of the first times that I've heard about apprenticeships. So how do you, I know you mentioned going to the colleges. Is it becoming more well known in the workforce as options? Because, you know, if people don't know, they can't apply.
Yeah, no, apprenticeships are they're a very hot topic right now, and the awareness for them are huge. There's events statewide and regionally that you can go to and learn more about apprenticeship and see, and just apprenticeships in general. But here in the last year or so, there's been a lot of networking events, a lot of informational events, and I think the information is getting out there to the employers.
How do you connect the two, from the employer to the apprentice? How do you connect the two or help to consult to do that?
I work with the apprenticeship consortiums a lot in our region. And basically what that means is, you know, there's an entity, say the community colleges, right? So myself, I work with Forsyth Tech and Davidson Davie Community College. They're the sponsors of the Registered Apprenticeship Program, which means the employers can come in under their consortium and their sponsorship, and then DDAC can write their registered apprenticeship for them and be the sponsor for them. So I get connected with the employers by going, I'm great partners with my community colleges, so I go to those meetings and I get face-to-face with those employers, and then I meet with them. And then if I know what apprenticeship opportunities are available, they can share those with me. And then through my partnership with our NC Works Career Centers, which we have 6 of those across our 10-county region, I can take those opportunities and share them with the NC Works case managers. And they're having people come in every single day who, you know, they're out of work, you know, they're trying to find work. They know those opportunities, and they can share them with the actual job seekers, and then we can refer those job seekers straight to those employers.
So the NC Works, I know you guys do a lot of, is that in partnership? How is that?
Yeah.
A separate organization, but the regional council, PTRC, works in partnership with these guys.
Yeah. So basically we kind of provide functional oversight of the career centers, but think of me as kind of the liaison between the businesses and the job seekers, right? When you're thinking NC Works, you're thinking of the actual people who's on the ground working with the job seekers every single day. So they're the frontline staff. So they're the ones learning, you know, what the people need, what training do they need, and they're trying to place them in these job opportunities. And then I come in, and my role is to meet with the employers and know what job opportunities are out there and make that connection and try to get these people some long-term employment.
So what is the biggest challenges that you are seeing with that employers are facing with the apprenticeships?
The big thing is to find people that are, you know, job ready. So, you know, just because someone doesn't have a job doesn't mean that they're ready for one, right?
So what does that mean, though?
So job readiness, you know, think kind of soft skills, kind of knowing what to expect in a place of employment. So we work with people on mock interviews. We do their resumes. You know, just simple things like, you know, how to send an email, how to do that correctly, how to act at the workplace professionalism. It's really just making sure they kind of have the soft skills just to enter the workplace.
What kind of impact have you seen personally from your position and overall
So it's very gratifying when you're able to help someone who might be struggling in their life, be able to give them access to long-term employment to where they're able to support their family, right? So when I'm working with people at the Career Center, these people may have been laid off, maybe in the past they were, justice involved, and maybe they just kind of had a bad break. So my goal is to be able to incentivize employers to hire these people and give them access to long-term employment. Economic mobility is a big thing. Trying to get people to where they can be better off than their parents were, right? Being to give them access to a sustainable wage to where they can go and work and support their family. And I think that's really cool.
Tell me about your first connection when you really accomplished that goal that you're talking about. Do you remember the specific situation?
I think the first really cool thing I did was I planned, it was a Justice Involved Resource Fair in Coolmey, North Carolina, which is in Davie County. I did it in partnership with one of the local churches. We got together. We brought several different resources. We brought the community college. We brought our mobile units. We sat down. We worked with all of them. We talked to them about kind of, professionalism, mock interviews. Sat down, did all of their resumes. It was like a 2 or 3 hour event. We had lunch. We hosted lunch. We had around 30 to 35 people, and everyone was just really thankful, and they really enjoyed it. But that was kind of the first thing that I headed up. And I thought that was really cool.
What do you enjoy most about your position, Jacob? You've been doing this for 3 years now. You're very articulate about what you do. That shows me you're passionate about it. Tell me about that. What do you enjoy most?
My favorite thing about working here at PTRC is no day is the same. Right. So some days I may be out at events networking. Some days I may be doing employer site visits. Some days I may be doing paperwork. Now that might not be my favorite part of the job, but it's a part of it. But no day's the same. So I'm always on the road, always meeting new people. I like to talk and I like strangers. So I love to go out and meet new people and then just kind of figure out how to address their needs. Right. I love developing partnerships and being able to kind of go back and use those in, future situations.
Yeah.
When you say you're going into an employer to help them understand how to retain, what does that look like? How is that a mentoring of the actual employer to say maybe you're doing something that's not helping your retaining, or maybe you're just continuing to look or not ask the right questions of your apprenticeship or your worker?
You're not just going to walk into an employer if they don't know you. The importance of the relationship.
Yeah, you got to build the relationship
for them to trust you.
For them to trust you, yeah. And I feel like I do really well at that. Because a lot of times when I meet people for the first time, I'm not going to bombard them with services and what I do and things like that, because it's a lot and it's hard to understand. So I try to build a personal relationship with the person first to where they feel comfortable with me, and then once they feel comfortable about talking about their issues, because you go and meet with a business, they're not going to look at you and go,
struggling.
To be honest with you, we're just not doing good. They're going to be like, everything's great. And then, but once you build that relationship, they'll open up to you and be, these are my issues, these are my problems. How can you help me solve it? And then that's when we can kind of sit down and figure it out.
And that's got to be an awesome thing there to enjoy being able to make that connection and be able to help that individual. And not only are you helping that employer, but also helping somebody else to be able to get that position.
Yeah.
It seems like that you shed some light on both sides of the argument, I would say. And I think that you have to be pretty nimble in your thinking and your communication style to be able to navigate, that there's some sensitivity on both ends of that. I could even think of the apprentice that would be coming in, and you're saying, hey, they don't have the soft skills. You have to let them know they don't have the soft skills in a way that is not offensive, and says, let me help you do it this way. And to the employer, hey, let me let you know why there may be a problem with retaining kind of things. And I think that is that challenging for you? Is that the part that you like?
It's not challenging for me. I feel like I do really well at it. But it can be difficult. It's just really, you got to take everything on a case-by-case basis. Every time you work with an employer, it's not going to be the same. Every time you're trying to get an individual connection to employment, it's not going to be the same. So it's just being able to kind of, know what you're doing. And when you meet with employers, when you hear their issues at a certain point, like things go off in my brain. Like when I hear certain things, I know that this is going to be the solution. I've just got to be able to get them to where they see it as well. And that's just kind of walking through and navigating them.
It sounds like a little bit like being a parent.
So, yeah, and it's all about those connections too.
Yeah.
You got to make those connections to make all that work. So what kind of impact have you seen the apprenticeship programs have on businesses and the local workforce?
So they've had really good impact, especially in certain industries. Like, I mentioned the healthcare industry. It's been done a lot to help kind of introduce them to a pipeline of people, right? Because if they're doing that and they're working with the community colleges, that's a pipeline of people coming out. They're working with the four-year universities. They're tapping into the pipelines of people to be able to do this. The stat that my apprenticeship and C consultant, Linda Robbins, she always tells this, I believe that is 80% of all apprentices complete their apprenticeship. And then I believe it's around 92% of those completers are still with the business 5 years after.
Wow. That's saying
huge.
something.
Really what it does is it creates, loyalty between the business and the job seeker, because the business is going in and they're investing in that individual. And when they go in and they invest in them, they sense that, and they're a lot more likely to stay with the business rather than to leave.
Yeah. And I think in any community, I mean, there's so many factors that make for a successful community, a successful region. And this is one aspect of that, because you got to have a small business, you got to have big business, you got to have the employees, you've got to have the ability to train them.
A very large part of it is also the K-12 system, the public schools, because, a lot of these kids that are coming in, say they're in high school, right? A lot of them are getting done with their classes 3 years in, and their fourth year, they just have to fill those with either college classes or a pre-apprenticeship, which is another part of the conversation. The pre-apprenticeships can lead into registered apprenticeships, but the best thing about a pre-apprenticeship is that if they go through and they complete that pre-apprenticeship, then they become eligible for the state tuition waiver, which means they can go into the community colleges and get the tuition waived. But the K-12 partners have really been very flexible with the high schooler scheduling to be able to allow them to go and do these apprenticeships. There's some seniors in high school that are doing these pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships that are working full 30 to 40 hour work weeks because they're done with their school. But it took a leap from the high schools to be able to allow their flexible scheduling to do that. But it's a team game, right? So they've got to be on the table. The community colleges have to be at the table. The businesses have to be at the table. And then you have to have interest in it, right? If their job seekers aren't interested in doing it, then there's, having the rest of the partners doesn't matter.
And I look at all this as an investment. You're talking about K-12, K through 12, an investment for the future that pays off huge if we can get all this right, get all these connections right.
In an ideal world, what would you want to see moving forward?
Yeah, so I would just like to see us continuing to further the partnerships we've already built, right? I would love to be able to work with these registered apprenticeships to utilize our services to kind of help incentivize the employers to hire people with barriers to employment. But additionally, registered apprenticeships is just one piece of the pie that we do, right? We don't have to work with registered apprenticeships directly. We're not tied to that world. We can do things with all businesses. So we recommend that all businesses reach out and just see what's out there for you. We can do a lot of different things, but you're not going to know until we meet and kind of sit down and talk about it. So I want to keep building new partnerships and also build upon the ones I've already made.
So in the broad scheme of things too, what do you want to see change? Like from your perspective, looking at all of this, doing what you do, is there something that you see, man, if this was done differently or if this was done differently? Or are we doing the right thing? We just need to do more of it.
I think we're doing things well. The biggest thing is just when you're working with federal dollars and things like that, sometimes things can be a little restrictive. But when you're working with money like that, that just kind of comes along with it. Yeah. I think we're doing things really, really well. I don't know that I have anything right now that I would change. The big thing is, just making sure that the leadership at the state level is kind of clear with the guidance that they want us to do at the local level, right? Because if they tell us what we need to do, we're all very capable of being able to go out and achieve these goals they want to see. Yeah.
One last thing. Share a real example of how PTRC has helped an employer.
Awesome. So we did an incumbent worker training grant with Atrium Health in Winston-Salem. So basically what an incumbent worker training grant can allow us to do is cover the cost of third-party training. And the cool thing about this, it was a registered apprenticeship. They worked in partnership with LEAP, which is a Learn and Earn program at Forsyth Tech. What we were able to do was cover the tuition and the books for 3 of their CT apprentices at Atrium. They were in their last semester before they sat down to take their exam. So I worked with them very closely, Atrium, and then my partner at LEAP, which is Irene Williams. She works with the health sciences, so she works kind of in that world. But we all worked closely together to be able to do that grant, because there's a lot of moving pieces when you do a grant like that. Everything's got to be done prior to when the training starts. So there's a lot of moving pieces. You got to get with the individuals, get their information, the business information, the training providers' information. And we were able to do all that before it started. And we were able to cover the cost for those individuals.
That must have been awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet that's changed their lives forever.
I've not heard back like after they took their license, but I'm hoping everything's going really well for them. But we were able to hedge that cost for the business, so the businesses didn't have to cover that.
Well, what we need to do is get the word out about this even more, and hopefully this medium and will help do that, and also just give the normal person insight into what's happening, so word of mouth can also be a factor. I know that 4 of my children came up with K-12, and at that point, there was no offering of that. They did double enroll with the colleges, but even getting the word out, I know personally what an impact K-12 can have, and moving forward, I think that's a big thing. So I want to say thank you so much, Jacob, for what you're doing.
Yes.
You're so well-spoken, and you can tell that you were meant to be in communications, and you navigate that expertly.
And there's a team of you guys, right?
Yes. So there's me, which I said I cover Stokes, Forsyth, Davie, and Davidson counties. There's Tiffany Hudson, which she's also a business engagement coordinator. She covers Surrey, Yadkin, Caswell, and Rockingham counties. And then Will Early is our business engagement team lead. So he covers Randolph County and Alamance County.
What is the contact?
Reach out to me.
Tell us how to do that.
Yes. So you can reach out to me at my email, which is jthompson, JTHOMPSON @PTRC.org. Or you can call our office phone, which is 336-904-0300.
That sounds right.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
We'll have it on the screen.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah. But your team, you guys are doing a great job. The other day I had a wonderful conversation with Will as well, and heard his passionate about what you guys do.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, we're all really good. We all operate in different ways, just because, your personalities are a little bit different, and this job is so involved heavily in, your personality and how you speak with people. But Will and Tiffany are great. They do a great job. Everyone's passionate about what they do. So I encourage every business who they're just curious about what services are out there or incentives are out there, reach out to us, and we'll put you in contact with the right person. If any job seekers are listening, I recommend they go to NC Works to try to help find some long-term employment. The resources are out there. It's just getting the information to where the right people hear it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're hearing this, do exactly what Jacob said.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. And that will be this episode. We'll see you on the next one.